Hello, MCU fans. Today we're going to look at the biggest retcons in the Marvel Cinematic Universe phases 1 through 4. Now, this idea came from a comment in a video where somebody suggested, hey, why don't you tell us about all the different retcons? And I thought, that's a great idea because the term retcon gets thrown around so much. Sometimes it's used negatively because a retcon didn't work, but sometimes it's used positively. It's not always a bad thing. So let's dive right in and see how the MCU has used retcons. So first of all, I thought, it's probably worth looking up the definition of retcon. And you know what? It's actually in the dictionary. Who knew? So let's look at the definition. In a film, television series, or other fictional work, a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. Wow, that's an excellent definition. Honestly, I just thought retcon was a nerd word that people like me used. No, it's actually in the dictionary and the definition makes sense. So there you go. And this is why I think that retcon isn't always negative. There's nothing negative about that definition. I mean, think about learning that Hela was Thor's sister and Odin's daughter. I mean, no one saw that coming, right? That was most definitely a piece of new information, but it made a great story. There were no clues up to that point that something like that would happen, but that's okay. So not all retcons are bad as long as they're executed well. But we're going to see many are executed quite poorly. All right, so in release order, we'll go through these retcons. Now, Iron Man 2 revealed that Fury's big week included the movies Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and Thor, all happening in the span of, a week. And I love the concept. It's really cool to think that Phil Coulson was jumping around back and forth between Hulk fighting it out at Culver and then checking in on Iron Man and then running over and checking in on Thor. Really cool concept, but boy, did it create carnage with the timeline. It moved the Incredible Hulk around. It was still unclear of how close things were to Avengers. Did it move Iron Man forward? I made a whole video on the timeline craziness as a result of this concept. So I give it, I guess, a C. It's a good idea. I love Fury's big week, but man, it created carnage. Then we have Iron Man 2, and Captain America the Winter Soldier, which all continued to add to the resume of jobs that Howard Stark had. Arms dealer, then industrialist, then spy, then co-founder of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, every time they mentioned the guy, he had another job. But that's okay. I don't have an issue with this. It's pretty cool. The guy gets around. He was very busy. Works for me. Now, Iron Man 2 was later changed to make Peter Parker the young child in the Iron Man suit. Another example of a retcon that kind of worked, kind of didn't. I like the idea that that was Peter Parker because it builds of why Peter has such an admiration for Iron Man. Very cool. On the flip side, chronologically, in the timeline at least, Peter would have been older at the time frame that Iron Man 2 was in the timeline. So it doesn't really work in that regard. And actually, no movie has actually referenced this, but it's been pretty well accepted by folks at Marvel that, yes, that is Peter Parker. The Consultant one-shot revealed that Tony wasn't sent to recruit the Hulk, but to actually fail to recruit the Abomination from General Ross. And now this is an example of a good retcon that fixes an inconsistency because the end credit scene in The Incredible Hulk no longer made sense once it was revealed that Tony Stark wasn't going to head up the Avengers Initiative. So they fixed it with this brilliant one-shot that reframed that end credit scene. So kudos to Marvel for that. Captain America the First Avenger revealed that Tony didn't actually have a crappy version of Cap's shield. We see it show up there in Iron Man and again in Iron Man 2 when he shoves it under a pipe to lift it up a little bit. I don't know what that thing is, but we learn in Captain America the First Avenger, it ain't Cap's shield because Cap has his shield. The Avengers revealed that it is actually still possible to get to Earth even though the Bifrost was destroyed in Thor. They implied, hey, you're not going to get back to Earth again for a long time because the Bifrost is gone. Well, maybe not so long after all, right? Because now suddenly he's back for the Avengers, which is good. We needed a retcon to explain how he got there. Turned out Odin pulled it off, and it really weakened Odin to do it. But good retcon, a necessary retcon created by the results of Thor. So, all right, I got no problem with that one. The Avengers and Iron Man 2 revealed some major actor swap outs between Rhodey swapping out actors, and of course the Hulk. And I love that She-Hulk even brings it up finally and starts poking fun at the whole Edward Norton versus Mark Ruffalo situation. So yeah, inevitable, it has to happen. Got no issue with it. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. revealed that Phil Coulson didn't die after all. Now, granted, I know that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is questionable canon at this point, and that's a whole debate for another video, but there's no doubt that it was canon when it came out. So it was a big deal that, suddenly we find out Coulson actually didn't die. So a good retcon, because we got 7 extra seasons of Phil Coulson, so yay. Thor the Dark World revealed that the Tesseract was actually the Space Stone. It was an Infinity Stone? Huh? And we didn't see that coming, right? But it fit. It's a retcon that works because every time the Tesseract, the cube, was used, it did seem to have space-type aspects to it, whether it shot Red Skull off into oblivion in the first Captain America movie, or whether it brought Loki through a portal in the Avengers movie. So it worked. I have no issue with the retcon. It was a really cool way to retroactively introduce one of the Infinity Stones. Captain America the Winter Soldier revealed that Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government. Of course, Sitwell and Senator Stern and so many others. Zero issue with this retcon. This is an example of a brilliant retcon. I mean, yes, it is a new piece of information that we didn't see coming, that came out of nowhere, but it worked. It made a fantastic movie. No issue with it. No issue whatsoever. Avengers Age of Ultron revealed that Hawkeye has a family. Who knew, right? Yeah, that came out of nowhere. But again, good retcon, no problem with it. Avengers Age of Ultron also revealed that the destruction of Tony's suits, well, didn't last as long as Iron Man 3 might have implied. At the end of Iron Man 3, he blows them all up, and you get the impression he's done being Iron Man. Well, that is until Avengers Age of Ultron. And then at the end of Age of Ultron, he drives off, says, I'm tapping out. Again, you think he's done being Iron Man. Well, until the next time he comes back. But really, this kind of built into Tony's personality. He's a tinkerer. He can't stop. And he feels safer when he's got either an Iron Man suit nearby or even on him. So, yeah, it worked. It was a shock. I was really surprised to see Iron Man back again after Iron Man 3, but very glad that they retconned it and continued him on his journey. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 revealed that all of Stan Lee's cameos are tied back to a single character who also happens to work for the Watchers. Awesome. Awesome. I mean, it created maybe an inconsistency here or there, but who cares? It was a great idea. Love it. Fantastic. Fantastic. Captain America Civil War revealed that Tony's parents didn't die in an accident after all, and of course that it was the Winter Soldier that killed them. Fantastic retcon. There were hints of it in Captain America the Winter Soldier, but you really had to be looking closely and really be thinking hard. So for the most part, this came out of left field, but it was brilliant. It was brilliant. The entire Civil War movie wouldn't have happened if not for this plot twist. So excellent, excellent, excellent. Spider-Man Homecoming revealed that Marvel doesn't know the number of years between the Avengers and Spider-Man Homecoming. So it depends on how you look at this as a retcon. Either they were trying to retcon that it was 8 years between them, which of course it wasn't, or they later retconned the fact that that's really a 4. It's a 4, not an 8. There's a 4 right there. So however you want to look at it, it was a mess. But yeah. Bad job, Marvel, but they fixed it and they moved on and admitted they were wrong. Loki's official bio revealed that he isn't so evil after all, and he was controlled by the Mind Stone. Of course, we learn, and you could argue it's a retcon, that his scepter actually had an Infinity Stone in it. So it was so powerful that it actually controlled him in the Avengers movie. I love this retcon, which I don't know is actually mentioned in a movie anywhere. It might only be in his bio. But I love this retcon because he went from being, annoying, a jerk, a problem, in Thor, to just being utter evil in Avengers. I mean, he was evil. And he also looked like he wasn't in his right mind. So this was just a perfect retcon to say, no, you know what? He wasn't in his right mind. He's not quite that evil. He's a trickster, but he ain't that bad. Great retcon. Thor Ragnarok revealed that, the Infinity Gauntlet in Odin's throne room was actually a fake. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. This is an example of fixing inconsistency in a hilarious way. I got no problem with it. Infinity War revealed that Gamora was not the last of her kind after all. This would be an example of a problematic retcon, because in Guardians of the Galaxy, it was implied that she was the last one. Everybody else was killed. And then, of course, in Infinity War, no, Thanos only kills half the population. There's ways to make it work, if you twist yourself in a bit of a pretzel. The bottom line is, though, this was not a well-executed retcon. It created more problems than it solved. Granted, it built to the overall story of Infinity War, which I guess you could argue it was worth it in that regard, but still, poorly executed retcon. All Hail the King and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings revealed that neither Trevor nor Aldrich Killian were the real Mandarin. Wen-Wu was the real Mandarin. Now, it was obviously hinted at in All Hail the King that there was another Mandarin out there, and of course Shang-Chi fully revealed that other Mandarin. But if you remember, even Aldrich Killian said, I'm the Mandarin at one point in the movie near the end. So, we definitely didn't see this coming if you just watch Iron Man 3. Although if you think about it, Iron Man certainly hinted there was a Mandarin, and it probably wasn't Killian. But nonetheless, this is definitely a retcon, but it's a good retcon. I got no issue with it. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings also revealed that Bruce can turn human once again. What? After Endgame, we thought he was stuck in his Hulk form. Nope, turns out he found an inhibitor that lets him turn human. And then you could take the retcons further, because in She-Hulk, we learned that his arm, which we thought from Endgame could never be healed, actually can be healed. And it can be healed by Jen's blood. So there you go. And now he can be Smart Hulk again. So several retcons after Endgame there. But, again, I don't have a big issue with them. It furthered his story, fixed his arm. I'm okay. It's at the end of the day, it's all fantasy, right? So it works. Captain Marvel wins the award for the most retcons, and I would argue the most poorly executed retcons. First one, not so bad. This one's not so bad. Captain Marvel revealed that the Avengers Initiative was actually named after Carol's call sign. We see on a computer Nick Fury's typing up the Protector Initiative and then switches it over to the Avengers Initiative as he's thinking about Carol. Okay, that's fine. We didn't really know where the name came from, so this one worked. Some others didn't work so well, though. Captain Marvel revealed that Thor was not Nick Fury's first alien encounter. We certainly got the impression from Thor and, again, in Avengers, that the whole reason the Avengers Initiative was out there is because, hey, I've learned there's aliens, etc. And he was referring to Thor and referring to Loki. No, turns out it was because of Captain Marvel. So, it sort of works, but, it wasn't handled as well as it could have. It didn't fit as well as it should have, and kind of left you scratching your head and wincing just a little bit. Then you've got the fact that Captain Marvel revealed Nick Fury lost his eye due to a cat scratch. Now, in some regards, it just was disappointing. That's not what we expected. But there are some issues created by this retcon. You've got the fact that he alluded in The Winter Soldier that it was someone that did it, someone, a person. Of course, it wasn't a person, it ended up being a cat. But far more important is there's a picture in The Winter Soldier that shows him with both eyes, and chronologically in the timeline, it happens after Captain Marvel. Granted, it's just a picture, so you just kind of got to let it go. But the point is, they definitely created more inconsistencies with this retcon than they solved. And then we have Captain Marvel revealing that S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't such a new organization after all. In Iron Man, Coulson kind of fumbled around with the name, and yeah, it's really wordy, I know, we're working on that, and then comes up with the acronym S.H.I.E.L.D. Kind of implied it was a newer organization. Not so fast, because Captain Marvel says it's been around for, at least 20 years. So, oh well. Yeah, Captain Marvel, I'll give him credit for trying to do a prequel, which is tough, and to do a bunch of, tying into future storylines, or at least future in the timeline. But yeah, not real successful. I would argue created more problems than it was worth. Then you got WandaVision, which revealed that while Wanda's powers were activated by the Mind Stone, they had actually already existed already. I like this one. Keep in mind that because Marvel didn't own the rights to mutants, Fox had them, they couldn't call her a mutant. So they had to say, oh yeah, it was kind of from the Mind Stone. Yeah, that's it. Well, now WandaVision reveals, yes, the Mind Stone was important. It activated her powers, but they were already there. A la, she's a mutant. Perfect retcon, no issue whatsoever. And then finally, we conclude with a kind of a humorous one. Thor Love and Thunder revealed that Korg didn't have a mom, which he said he did have in Thor Ragnarok, but he actually has 2 dads. Whatever, doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it's an example of probably more of an inconsistency, and they didn't even mean to retcon it, potentially, or maybe they did. But either way, created inconsistencies rather than solving them. So bad retcon. Cool idea, bad retcon. So there you have it. Those are all of the retcons from phases 1 through 4. So let me know. What do you think? Are there any retcons I left out? Which retcons do you think didn't work? Which retcons do you think did work? And then what things would you like to see Marvel retcon in phases 5 through 6? Are there any plot elements from phases 1 through 4 that you feel are inconsistent and need to be fixed with a future retcon? Let me know down in the comments. I love to read all the comments and learn what people are thinking. Like the video if you don't mind. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out some more content, and we can all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, ever-changing, ever history-rewriting Marvel Cinematic Universe.